Have you ever really stopped to think about why a cup of coffee costs what it does? Or a car? Or anything, really? It's not just some random number. There's this powerful, invisible force at play, a kind of secret language spoken between buyers and sellers. And today, we're going to learn how to speak it. So here's our game plan. We'll start with the puzzle itself, then we'll meet the two key forces that are constantly in a tug of war. We'll see how they find that perfect sweet spot, what happens when the balance is thrown off, and, this is the really cool part, how the market almost magically fixes itself.
All right, let's jump right in. Section 1, the price puzzle. It's a question we bump into literally every single day. Why do things cost what they do?
Let's make this real. Think about your morning coffee. That price on the menu? It wasn't just pulled out of thin air. It's the result of a massive, silent negotiation happening between millions of people. And believe it or not, every time you buy a coffee, you're casting a vote in that negotiation.
Okay, so to understand this negotiation, we have to meet the two sides involved, because price is never ever set by just one person. It's the outcome of this constant push and pull between two powerful opposing forces. And here they are. On one side of the rope, you have us, the buyers. We create what's called demand. And our goal is simple, right? We want to get the best stuff for the lowest possible price. On the other side, you've got the sellers. They create supply. And their goal, the complete opposite. They want to sell their stuff for the highest possible price. This fundamental conflict is what makes the entire market engine turn. So let's look a little closer at that first force, demand. That's just a fancy term for all of us, the customers. It's a measure of how much stuff we're willing to buy at any given price. It's pretty intuitive. When the price of that coffee goes down, we're way more likely to buy it, right? Maybe even get a second one. And pulling in the other direction is supply. This is the producer's side of the story, the coffee shop owners. It's all about how much they're willing to make and sell. And naturally, if they can sell that coffee for a higher price, they're going to be much more motivated to brew more of it. So you've got buyers who want low prices and sellers who want high prices. It sounds like a stalemate. How does a deal ever get made? Well, this is where it all comes together. They have to find a sweet spot. And that sweet spot has a name: market equilibrium. It sounds a bit technical, but the idea is incredibly simple. It's the point of perfect balance. It is the single price where the amount of coffee people want to buy is exactly the same as the amount the shops want to sell. Not one more, not one less. And when a market hits equilibrium, it's just perfect harmony. Everybody's happy. There are no unsold coffees sitting on the counter getting cold. There are no disappointed customers being told, "Sorry, we're all out." Buyers find what they want, and sellers sell everything they make. The market is clear. But what happens if the price isn't at that magical equilibrium point? What if the coffee shop gets a little greedy and sets the price too high? Or maybe they run a huge sale and set it way too low? Well, that's when you get the chaos of imbalance. Now, this imbalance can go one of two ways. If the price is too high, sellers are thrilled to make a ton of coffee, but not enough of us want to buy it at that price. This creates a surplus, overstocked shelves, wasted product. But if the price is too low, everybody wants one. We all rush to buy, and the shop runs out in no time. That's a shortage, and that means empty shelves and unhappy customers. Now, you might think a surplus or a shortage means someone has to step in and fix things, right? A manager, or maybe even the government. But, and this is probably the most amazing part of this whole story, the market has this incredible, almost magical ability to heal itself. No one needs to be in charge. So, let's take that surplus. Picture the coffee shop owner staring at all those unsold cups at the end of the day. They don't want to just throw them out, so what do? The obvious thing, they lower the price. They have a sale. And suddenly, at that lower price, more people are willing to buy. The extra coffee gets sold, and the price naturally drifts back down towards that equilibrium point. And it works in reverse for a shortage. So now there's a huge line of people wanting coffee, but there's not enough to go around. What happens? Well, some people might be willing to pay a little extra to guarantee they get a cup. This competition among buyers naturally starts to push the price up. As the price rises, two things happen. It becomes more profitable for shops to make more coffee, and some buyers decide it's not worth it anymore. And just like that, the market moves back towards balance. And this gets to the very heart of it.
It doesn't always happen overnight, but as the source material puts it, markets tend to adjust automatically towards equilibrium over time. The pressure from either unsold goods or from desperate buyers is always pushing the price back towards that perfect balancing point. It's a self-correcting system.
So let's just quickly recap the big takeaways here. First, equilibrium is that perfect sweet spot where demand and supply meet. Second, if the price is too high, you get a surplus. If it's too low, you get a shortage. And finally, the most important one, markets are these incredible, self-correcting machines that are always working to find their way back to balance. And all of this leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. If this invisible hand of the market is so elegant, so efficient at finding the right price all by itself, why do we so often feel the need to step in and interfere with things like price controls or subsidies? Well, that's a fascinating puzzle for another day.